Today I'm at the New York Stock Exchange with an exclusive interview with Paul Maguire. He founded a different kind of VC firm with access to companies like SpaceX and Topgolf. So what are we waiting for? Let's go meet him. Paul, it's so nice to meet you. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Olivia.
So VC is in your name, but you guys say that you're not a typical venture capitalism firm. So what do you mean by that?
Well, a traditional VC is they're the people who they come to when they need funding for a new startup. In other words, you've got a great idea, you're starting a new company, and you need a lot of dough for it. You come to a VC. They're deep-pocketed and usually from prior investments. So we don't have the capital that we're giving out to people. What we do is we deal in later stage startups, companies that are usually familiar names like Palantir, SoFi, Topgolf, and we make those investments available to individuals so they can actually invest alongside with those big deep-pocketed VCs.
Okay, so what kind of companies do you deal with, and is there some sort of theme that you go after right now?
Well, there's nothing specific, but as things happen, with today American enterprise, it tends to lean towards the tech companies. Like I mentioned Palantir already and SoFi. Those are heavily tech companies. And Topgolf would be a little bit different. They fall into the category more of a sports-themed entertainment thing. So it's no one category, just whatever's private and whatever shows a promise of good success.
Okay, so how do you get access to these shares?
Well, you take one of those tech companies, for instance, and a lot of times in Silicon Valley, these employees, these very talented programmers, are compensated with equity, more equity than cash. Unfortunately, if you want to live in Palo Alto, if you want to own a home, 2 bedrooms or more, it's going to cost you a minimum of $2 million. If you're not being paid a lot of cash, then you need to raise some. They have these mountains of equity that are going to be worth a fortune someday. They're willing to part with a small percentage of it in order to raise that cash on hand, and they'll do so at somewhat of a discount, and that's where we get it, and we can provide it to our clients.
So you get some really juicy details and gossips ahead of everyone else.
Well, no more than anyone else, maybe. I mean, we rely on the same sources of everyone else, on PitchBook and the internet, basically, to get our information. But we have people in our office who are really good at it, and they can divine things. Just a lot of hard work, and you can get some great info on all these companies. But we do not have any non-public information, though.
Okay, so you just have that special sauce to do the research.
Our special sauce is the people who work with us, and some really brilliant minds and energetic and motivated people, and we certainly pass that energy on to our clients.
Okay, so besides that, why is it better to do it now, to invest in these companies now instead of wait for them to be listed?
Well, when everyone else can jump in, I mean, that's where the tendency is for people just to buy a stock up. We're getting them at prices that, like I said, alongside the VCs, they get the preferential numbers because it hasn't had that kind of exposure yet. So when it gets the exposure to the public markets, like you see down here on the beautiful New York Stock Exchange, that's when buyers from across the world can jump in and just goose the heck out of the thing.
Okay, and can anyone have access to this, or do they have to go through a special division? Do they need to be an accredited investor, I guess is what I'm saying?
They absolutely do have to be accredited investors, and that's what the SEC requires of us. And the reason for that, it's really a safety that's put in place for the investors. Because the SEC hasn't had their chance to vet these securities. They're unregistered securities. So in order to do that, yes, it's perfectly fine for you to invest in these things, but the SEC wants to ascertain if you're an accredited investor, the presumption is that you've made your money, you're a somewhat sophisticated investor, and you can absorb any potential loss that might be ahead. That's not to say that we expect losses in these companies, but we can't expect anything because they are untested. But again, they're household names, so generally our clients feel pretty comfortable with what they're buying from us.
Okay, so it's really cool. You guys are a different kind of VC firm, access to some really cool companies. It's 2020. What's in the future?
The future for us, we're not unique in this way, but our future involves expanding, getting our name out there, getting our client base to be much bigger. And the way to do that is to make sure that our clients are very satisfied. So we're very service-oriented. Again, that's nothing unique about us. I think everyone would pretty much say that about their businesses, but we really put our heart and soul into it.
Paul, it was great having you here back at the New York Stock Exchange. I understand you used to be on that very floor.
I was, and right down there, it used to be post 6, and I'm sure they might still be calling that. I don't know. I'm a little bit rusty down here, but this is where I cut my teeth, and for me, it is quite a homecoming, and it's wonderful to be back here. A lot of familiar faces, and everyone's already busting my chops, so I feel like I never left the place.
Really great. Well, it's great to have you back and to hear more about your company. How do we follow your process?
Well, we have a website. It's www.ironedgevc.com. You go there, you click Contact Us, and just do your navigation from there. It's a process that we're all familiar with, and I might add that we're just looking forward to hearing from all of your audience. And again, I appreciate your including me today, Olivia.